Hallo ihr besten Menschen, der Phil hier mit einem Video von der Gamescom, wo ich bei Wargaming bzw. Creative Assembly mir Total War Arena anschauen konnte. Ich lasse auch gleich die guten Jungs von Creative Assembly einfach die Präsentation machen, denn die können das natürlich viel besser erklären, was euch in diesem taktischen, actionbasierten Arena-Game auf Basis von Total War so erwartet. Das Video ist, beziehungsweise die Präsentation ist auf Englisch. Ich werde die nächsten Tage auch natürlich nochmal Untertitel machen, aber ich wollte erstmal jetzt, bevor die Closed Beta beginnt, wollte ich, dass ihr seht, was auf euch zukommt und deswegen das Video schnell bringen. Jetzt lasse ich euch gleich mal von Jeff und Chris vom Team Creative Assembly erklären, was auf euch zukommt. Viel Spaß!
So what is Arena? Let's crack through the words and get onto the videos because they're more fun. There is our kind of mission statement, right? The fundamental thing is, it is the massed battle online multiplayer. It's 10v10 battles. It basically took the multiplayer version out of Shogun 2. There's a lot of feedback for that from Total War players, and rather than make it as part of another title, we decided to put it in its own title, do a super job of it and take it in other areas. So it is free to play, tactics are super important, and you'll see that we'll battle in some huge battles, right, with all sorts of legendary commanders. So the pillars, it breaks down, just another way of looking at the previous thing. As you command 3 units, there's around 100 men in each unit, which means there could be up to 6,000 men on the battlefield. This is spread across various different factions, Greeks and Romans and barbarians, and driven by these commanders. We have 9 throughout our closed alpha, that's grown to 10 during this week. The battlefields themselves are all set in historical, reasonably accurate places, real places, most of which will have had actual battles on. Some are just places of historical significance for that era. But there is quite a long timeline for the game. You know, the battlefield we've been playing on today, Hadrian's Wall, was what, around 400 AD?
We've got it set around 230, but it could easily be around 420.
That time.
The earliest we go is Capeltine Hill, which is one of the 7 founding hills of Rome, and that's set around 730 BC here, so before it was fully Rome, but it's still got the Temple of Jupiter, really cool location.
So clearly, all the commanders we have in the game, they weren't all alive, you know, for 1100 years. So, you know, yeah, I know, what are we doing here? So, obviously we're a little bit elastic with that, but of course we get some fantastic results and you get some really cool battles. Tactics, very important. So tactics and teamwork, fundamentally. You choose your unit types, we'll show you that. They all have different, very dedicated play styles. The commanders themselves have dedicated play styles. You can configure them, so you go into battle, if you like, with your units ready, you think you know what to do, but your positioning on the map is very important, and the role you play within the team you're playing is also important. So tactics key. Historical we just talked about, and it is obviously that 10v10 multiplayer game. So, I always think we're going to another slide. Despite doing this now at least 50 times, this slide always surprises me. So, we have been in a closed beta on Steam in 2015 till early 2016. We took the game offline at that point. We wanted to work on a lot of the feedback we'd received, do more with the game, and we also wanted to look around for another partner. So during 2016 we hooked up with Wargaming, which is a great fit for us. Their love of history and war and their experience around free-to-play was absolutely fantastic for us, and our Total War game and universe fits in nicely with theirs. It gives them something they haven't got. So that works really well. And we started a closed alpha at the back end of 2016, which is coming to an end now. Some of the key things we learned and key things we focused on were either end of the charts here, the depth of the gameplay and the accessibility of the gameplay. Just to finish off, so the game is very deep. There's a lot of stats you can get. You can amend all your unit tree. You can change the way your commanders work, and we have made those visible. But of course, for new players, especially in free-to-play titles, you need to provide a gradual onboarding. So we spent a lot of time on tutorials, AI battles, and a gentle ramp-up for the early tiers of gameplay.
And the way that we try to merge accessibility and depth, because it's been done quite a bit in other games, but it hasn't always worked out. we looked at kind of a 2-layer system where you get really basic information if you're a new player and you're just trying to figure out where you're standing. For example, to say you've got 520 to attack on this unit. And a new player can say, okay, well that's more than the 230 defense, so I should be attacking. But then you mouse over that attack statistic and it breaks it down into, actually that's comprised of 52 melee attack, 150 charge, so you start to think, oh, this is actually a charge unit. It's still an attack, it's still assault, but you start to learn how you should be using it in that role.
Yes, indeed. So readability, we've done a lot of work on maps. This is just an example, right, about it wasn't clear in the top picture there whether you could really hide in there, whether you were protected at all, but hiding and ambushing is vitally important in total war, so in the updates to the maps it's very clear, you know, where the track is. There's obviously lots of other routes around because they're big maps, but it's also very clear that you go in there, you've afforded some protection, and also very clear if you go up here there are likely to be people in there.
Our goal is that you could have a screenshot of the UI and the player would understand everything on it. They can say, I know what that means, and I know if I go in those trees that I'm hidden, but I'm protected from archer fire.
Okay, so now we are up to speed where we are, so we're going to talk about, well, Josh is going to talk about the factions and the commanders.
I hope you're all sitting comfortably. So, we have 3 factions in our game as it stands, and we wanted to make sure that every faction really does something new, that they're not just copies of each other. So each faction's got a really distinct kind of play style. But then within that, every commander has to be a different flavour of that. Otherwise, what's the point in having different commanders if they all just do the same kind of thing? So, alongside that, we really take history seriously. I've read a lot of books since I joined. I've actually got one now, really recommend. So, it's just the classical world. Great book, not trying to advertise. But
other books are available.
Other books are available.
That's great.
So we try to look at the history of a commander, and then we see how that would work into a play style and how that fits alongside the others in the faction. So the barbarians, for example, they're very light, they're fast, they're assault gameplay, you're ambushing. Vercingetorix, he's the far left there. He was well known for standing up. He said, Rome is not treating us like an ally, they're treating us like a servant. We need to stand up. France needs to stand up, the Gauls need to stand up, and we need to say it's enough. And that's why we've given him iron discipline. And then when he was being chased across France by Caesar, he said, you can follow me, Caesar, but you're not going to eat. So he burned all the farms that he came across, burned all their crops. And that's why we've given him Scorched Earth, the ability where he can throw some fire onto the battlefield, he can burn the ground beneath them. So he's an ambusher, but it's about locking them into combat, coming out of the woods, locking them into combat, and then doing some constant damage to them, wearing them down. Arminius is a very different style of that. Arminius actually grew up in Rome, he was a hostage and he was sent over there. He was then so loyal to the Romans that he ended up a Roman commander. And then when they go to Teutoburg Forest, there's Arminius and the Roman general. And someone runs up to the Roman general and they're like, Sir, Arminius, he's turned on us. And the Roman general goes, no, Arminius, he's such a loyal Roman. Arminius had turned on them, he was slaughtering the Roman legions because he'd gone back and got his German pals. So that's why Arminius has the infiltrate ability, where he appears to be an ally even if you're an enemy. We'll talk about Boudica a bit later, but you can see how just in the assault and light gameplay that there's 2 very distinctive types. I won't go through all of the others. If you want me to go through all of the others afterwards, you can catch me.
You have to book a separate session.
I did actually have an hour-and-a-half interview with someone where I went through them all last time. So Rome is about assault. You've got Germanicus, who's infantry, he based in Gaul, he's about formations. You've got Scipio, his men would die for him at the Battle of Zama. After he took them back after the Romans had rejected them after what happened at Cannae. So then there's Caesar, and when he was assaulting Elysia, where Vercingetorix was, he was using siege equipment in a way that the ancient world had never really seen before. He tweaked it, he got more range out of it, more damage, and that's why if you're taking siege equipment with Caesar, you're going to have his abilities that complement them. So you can see there that we've got assault and we've got a kind of heavy, really like infantry-based assault there. We've got assault and hold. So the men just won't rout, they'll rather die, which is really great for if you need to attack someone and make sure that they're defeated. And then we have assault from afar. So they're all very different flavours of they're aggressive, they're getting in their face and they're damaging them, but in very different ways. And the Greeks, very well known for defence. Alexander took hammer and anvil from his father, Philip, and then he really perfected it. So we've got anvil as the kind of base defense for him, where you can hold units and engage them in melee so they can't escape. Then you go around with cavalry and you hammer into the back of them. So he is defense, but he's adding in that little bit of assault there. Miltiades, he's about just charging at them, getting there and setting up, just like he did at the Battle of Marathon. And then Kanani races a huntress, independent woman, allegedly poisoned her husband to gain that independence, but you know, I'm not gonna put anyone on trial. So she's got the ranged units there, and she gives them the hunt ability. And Leonidas, I mean, we all know Leonidas. People clap on stage when we say the word Leonidas. He is the epitome of that Greek defense. You tell him, you hold that line, and he will hold it. And that's why we've given the ability to hold the line. So you can see how we've got these three factions, and they've all got their unique kind of distinct core gameplay. But every commander adds something to that, and they take that core gameplay and use it in a slightly different way.
So at a high level, in terms of numbers, from all that context, you know, we've got 143 units in the game.
I'll go through them now if you want, if you've got the time.
Yeah. Luckily they're busy. And then you've got about a dozen unit types in the game, vitally important, and a whole bunch of maps. There are 9 currently, and we'll be growing this content, you know, over the upcoming months and hopefully years, because it's a free-to-play games as a service. But we also have premium units, which work beautifully in Arena because they kind of fill in gaps or give you opportunities to try out gaps in certain factions with unit types that they don't normally have.
Shall I?
Indeed.
Okay, so with premium units, we didn't want to do pay to win because we think that's ridiculous. It's not really fun for anyone, for the person paying or the person who hasn't paid. So the way we looked at premium units is we want them to be completely balanced within their tier. Yeah? So for the Greeks, you have your pikes, you've got your core units, the pikes, the spears, the cavalry. But then let's say you hit tier 6 and you're thinking, I've been fighting some Romans, they've been throwing javelins at me, I kind of want to try that out, but I don't want to go and play a Roman commander, I'm really in love with my Greeks. Tier 6, there's a Greek unit, premium unit, called Thracian Javelin Men. So the Greeks would hire the Thracians as mercenaries, and in fact Thracian Javelin Men actually defeated Spartans. But they were never a core part of the Greek army. So we didn't want to add an entire line for them because they weren't that embedded. But they were there occasionally and they added something. So the premium units are giving you that extra change of unit, a different kind of unit type, something different to what the core army is. But we're never going to lock that content away. If you played them and you like javelins, we've got an entire unit tech tree for javelins for the Roman faction. So it's giving you a taste of a different faction's gameplay, but within that faction. And it's really interesting to see what kind of synergies people find there that we weren't expecting.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Good. So that's the alpha phase.
I have a question.
Yes.
With the start, how many players can play?
10v10.
It's 10v10.
Yeah. So it's huge scale.
Yeah.
Every option is only 10v10, there can't be any...
Currently
We've got just
10v10.
that,
There may
but-
be future options where you
Yeah.
can play smaller scale, but for the moment, 10v10.
And that 10v10
There
can be
will
up
always
to
be.
6,000 individual entities on the battlefield. Because everyone's got 3 units of up to 100, 120 men. It can be huge scale.
So, okay, so that's closed alpha. We're going to move into closed beta, and as part of that, and at Gamescom this week, we're introducing 2 significant new bits of content. The new Commander Boudica, which is all over the walls, and War Dogs, which is a new unit type. Leave you to talk about Boudica in a second. War Dogs is a different type of unit type for us, really, in that it's got both dogs and handlers. So you've got it's double units, if you like, buy one get one free. So you've kind of got the handlers who can cause damage, and dogs you can send out to ambush and skirmish and then call them back. They're very, very powerful against pikes, and basically against a lot of the Greek defences that they can get past. But of course they're not just overpowered, you know, they don't stand up well in melee, and a shield bash from Leonidas can send them flying. So the game's all about the counters, right? So you will gain some advantage in some areas in your team using War Dogs, and you will not in other ways.
It's all about being able to adapt there. So they're really good against Greek pikes, but you don't want it to be that if you're Greek and you see War Dogs ahead of you, you're like, well, I'm dead. So for example, Alexander, a great tactic is you can use anvil to lock the dogs down and then go around and kill the handlers while the dogs lock down. So we made sure that every time there's a counter to something, what it counters can then counter that, and then that can counter that. So then it becomes, that's where the skill comes in. It's about seeing something and thinking, all right, there's 3 different ways I can deal with this. Let's see how they react to me. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Boudica. So we spoke about how the barbarians have their different kinds of assault gameplay. And when we looked at Boudica, we looked at her history. So when she stormed Camelundan and razed it to the ground, and really razed it, so that all that was left of Camelundan was the red kind of dirt clay that we can see now under Colchester, she knew that the Romans were coming to reinforce. So the 9th Legion were marching down, and as they were marching, they got ambushed. And when she ambushed them, she didn't just win the battle, she slaughtered the entire 9th Legion. And back then, you don't slaughter an entire Roman legion, that just doesn't happen. So that's why we've given her the ability Ambush, where she can see further, she can increase her line of sight, so you can do what she did, and you can plan, you can see where they're coming and plan and get ready for that ambush. And then we've given her another one of her abilities, is Rebellion, where, excuse me, where when she left the palace after the Romans had, taken her lands and, kidnapped the daughters and done all the horrible stuff to her people, when she exited, she had a black eye, she was bruised, and she can see in front of her representatives from loads of the different tribes of England, yeah? And that was the first time they'd really come together like that. Before that, people in England had fought each other as much as the Romans, but they saw what the Romans had done to her, and they said, actually, we're not that bad, those guys are pretty damn terrible. So then they united, and that's why we've given her Rebellion, which is a buff that winds up, and then all units around her have got this increased power and damage because they see her and they know what they're fighting for. So that's how she fits in there. You can see that she's very much more traditional. You see them coming, you hide, and you get ready for the proper ambush.
Okay, so let's go and look at gameplay, because that's enough of PowerPoint. This was our front end. It was very commander focused. The other units would be on the rocks, but it wasn't necessarily the most compelling of front end, nor the greatest way to actually configure your armies. So we changed that to a 3D camp, which you can rotate around, move around, and take a good look at both the commander and the units, because of course the units are the things you really take into battle. The commander is very important too because he leads them. You'd expect for a multiplayer title we have our global text chat, of course, all the usual stuff. You can party up. We took that functionality out after Steam because it was related to that. We put it in on the wargaming platform. Party up with up to 4 friends, and you can see their status, see whether they're ready, see online, etc., etc. Then you can click Commander icon on the bottom, and you can see the commanders list. Currently Germanicus is selected for the Romans, but you can scroll through your factions. You can see all their ability icons on here and the tier they're all set at. This game has been, or this machine was set at tier 6.
And part of that accessibility depth thing we have is, you can see there that Fury is a deathless charge, but you mouse over it and you see the specific percentages and the breakdown of what that means. So a more novice player can see it's a charge, I know I've got a charge, but then a more experienced player can see exactly how you charge. If you're like me, you love the historical side, there's the information tab, there's one for every commander, and we're hoping to do them for all the units too. So make sure you go read all of them, they're great.
So you can switch your units in and out very straightforwardly by dragging and dropping on the unit card. It replaces the game, or by clicking the add button, and everything updates in real time.
We wanted to make it so that whatever the player tried to do on this screen, it worked. However they felt they could naturally be adding their units, it worked. And we'll show you later that there's actually even more ways.
So here you can update your equipment, of course. You can see all the stats. They're kind of upgrades in the lower tiers, or side grades in the higher tiers. Just moving quickly along this video, there are groupings of stats because there's a lot of depth. So we can, for players who just want to know, oh, I want somebody who's good at defense, they don't need to understand why, but if you do, you could look into that. It's the information.
So you know if you're resisting a charge or if you're meant to be resisting missiles.
That's right. And finally, if you just want something that looks different but has no change in gameplay, you just want to have fun with cosmetics, then you can change, you can spend your gold on that.
And there's a really cool, for the historians, there's a really cool Romulus Remus shield for the Romans, which is my favourite. So here again, we show you that you can get into the ability screen there. You could have gone up there. Any way that the player felt they're meant to be getting somewhere, we make sure they get them. So there's one of these for every commander, and you can see how we do that tiering again, where tier 1, you get your first ability, you learn it, you perfect it, then you get another at tier 3, you learn how that works with the first one, and how it works alone, and then you get another one. So it's about layering on the depth, bit by bit, so you're not overwhelmed when you buy a new commander, you figure out their playstyle and how they work.
But then you sort of manage them and configure them so that they're slightly different to each other, right? They're just slight differences.
And here's our kind of army tree. There's one of these for every faction. You can see those Thracian peltasts I talked about there. And you can see that sometimes there's a spearman and then a premium unit would be that spearman as well. And the difference there is that they would both be spearmen. They're very different play styles. They usually have completely different abilities as well. So one could be quite offensive and the other would have a massive defense. So the premium units, as you can see there, are all about a kind of different style of gameplay at that tier for that faction.
So here as well, so you're changing, you're saying all the same information, but you can set up your units from here too. So if you prefer this view rather than the camp view, there's something for everyone. So now you've got 2 archers units and a pike unit, which means he'll get a diversity bonus when he goes into battle to reward you for playing probably slightly harder with separated units, but it's actually quite balanced in terms of gameplay. So that's the setup.
Yep.
And now we go into the battle.
We're not going to take Miltiades, unfortunately for him. We are going to take Boudica, so we can show you off the war dogs.
So at the start of the battle, before it actually starts, you can see your friend or your friends and your teammates here, and you get your positional deployment screen, so you can choose where to place down your units, so you make sure you're placing them in the right position. You don't want your archers right at the front, for example. This is your base, and there's the enemy bases up there. People chatting to each other, and then using the telestration feature and the ping feature, in fact, they draw arrows and lines, and there's discussion about the tactics for starting.
Or if you like, you write lol if you like.
Yeah, that's really very tactical lol. So just quickly, the conditions for winning the battle is either capture the base or annihilate the enemy forces. There is a time limit of 15 minutes for the battles. Most take around 8 to 10, but if you do get to 15 minutes, then the team wins with the most troops left.
Yeah. So the map we're on here is Hadrian's Wall, which, as we said earlier, is the furthest we kind of go in that area at the moment.
So you can see these pings going up there. This is just basically, and then you saw actually somebody drawing on the map right directly.
And you can draw on the mini map, and that will appear on the map as well. There's the dog charge. Yeah. See, they go in, they're really good at disrupting, and then you call them back like a dog yo-yo.
So there a player has brought up the radial wheel for pings and actually said, I want artillery please. And so I'm sure shortly the artillery unit will respond.
If they're lucky.
If they're lucky.
Yep. You can see that they lost a lot of morale there because they were hit while they were trying to retreat. Morale is actually a massive part of our game. In the positioning, it's super important. So you can see that arrow there constantly showing which way your unit's pointing, so you know where your flanks are. If you do get hit in the back, if you do then get broken, it used to be that if your unit routed, they'd just head back to base. But we found that you could just kind of set up some pikes, and then all the units that rout would run into your pikes. So now what we've done is, if the unit's routing, you do maintain control of them. They just can't attack, so you can still micro them around, and they're still useful.
So here as well,
the voice chat again.
No,
voice chat's not yet.
You can use third-party apps. They will work, but we can't guarantee how well they will work. But
that's something, as we're looking, we are layering more and more communication tools on. That's always something that we're looking at.
So at some point there will be an integrated chat solution.
Yes.
So you saw Jammy G here lost his morale because he was flanked, but he's managed to get his troops out. The dogs went in, distracted the enemy forces, and he's managed to get out. And you can see also the epic scale of the battle. You know, there's all skirmishes going on over here. There's more right over here. It's a big map, and there's a lot going on. Yeah.
Friendly fire on off.
You're about to see that.
You just hold on there.
If you wait 5 seconds, then we'll get to our little friendly fire section.
Potentially, there might be friendly fires.
Oh, let's find out, Jeff.
Oh, look at that. Have you seen this before? So there is friendly fire. It comes at a cost. For a while, we didn't tell people they're getting friendly fire. They'll get to the end of their battle and they'll look at their rewards and they'll see a big negative red. Right? Oh my God, I've lost silver. So here we tell them. But you may choose to do friendly fire anyway, right? That's a tactical decision you can take on the situation of the battle at that time.
It's not like if you hit one of your friendly units, you've just lost everything you've done. It's all proportionate, yeah? If there's one friendly and then 50 enemies around him, yes, kill that friendly to kill all those enemies. And as you can see, the HUD here, you've got Jammy G, and that's all of their usernames. But really, you can completely customize that. We've got a really cool battle interface tweaker. So I actually have that's unit names, and instead of tiers, that's unit role and unit weapon instead of unit type. You can really customize that. And what's really cool about Arena is when you press the space bar, that flips. So you have 2 UIs that you completely customize, and depending on what situation you're in, you might want to use either of them.
One of the things you may have noticed when you mouse over enemy units is a threat indicator, something we introduced a little while back to help with newer players understand the sort of rock, paper, scissors approach to the game. So you know if there's a high threat, you know that maybe I don't want to attack a high threat unless their morale is low, right, or there's not many of them left. But you can make those choices with the information we provide you.
And obviously as you get more advanced, more used to the units, the gameplay, you can see a unit and you know exactly what your kind of matchup is against that, how many people you'd lose in a straight one-to-one. You saw that earlier, they took that minor capture point, which you can see the fog of war there as the kind of the yellowy line. So that's a combined unit vision for all of you and your allied units. That watchtower gives you a bit of a boost to that. So you can see that we've now spotted those men ready to ambush in the woods. Unfortunately for them, we've spotted them, and then we're pinging to attack them. But they've realised we've spotted them because we had that watchtower, and they're going to try and leg it.
Yeah, I think they're deciding, do I take these troops on? And then they
probably
realise they're downhill, and there's a lot of them, and they decide that maybe discretion is the better part of valour, and potentially defending the base may be a better thing to do.
You can
if there are enemies hiding in the forest, you need to scout the enemies.
Yes, you need. You could ambush people from the forest. Absolutely, your fog of war will go up to about there. And then the closer you get to forest, the more it pierces, but it's never like as far. So you could be walking next to a forest and then units come out of nowhere and smash you. Yes, that's all the barbarians. Right. If you're a barbarian, you're going to be in all the woods.
But the dogs are super useful because they can kind of get under the fog of war.
Yeah.
Right? So if you see a volley of arrows coming from somewhere, you can send the dogs in, just go in and,
Yeah, and the dogs are so fast as well. They're great to have your handlers and dogs and then come out of combat with them.
Commander camera here, so you can get up close and personal to your commander. Quite useful if you fire Boudica's Fury ability then and actually go and see it, really immersed. Yeah, get immersed in the battle. So just as we go into base capture mode, talk a little bit about the bar at the top. You've got the blue and the red bar, which is the balance of power bar. It gives you a simple visual indicator how we're doing in terms of men left. So currently at this stage, the blues have considerably more men left than the reds.
But that doesn't mean they're going to win.
So that's the state at the moment, but that's why capturing the base can be so important.
So now you can actually see that our base is being captured faster than theirs, so we're in trouble. We're going to need a decap on that. And the way decapturing a base works, like just there, is if every unit has their individual pool of how much they've captured that base, when they engage in melee or in combat, they lose that capture pool, or if they get hit or fired on. So, for example, you can see that although we're capturing the base and we're ahead, we've still got to deal with those guys. So hopefully we can get in and we can deal a lot of damage to them quickly before they get shots on us and then we engage in melee. So ideally we just want to hit them, lose a little bit of capture, but not get hit by them. So let's see if we can get that. The dogs are going in, but this person's actually pretty good and he gets a shot off. So you can see that now the enemy are in the lead.
But also, as we're attacking, right, we're not gaining capture points because we're attacking at the same
You can see that flashing as well. That
so now, despite the balance of power, we are in danger of losing at this point.
And this is where it really shows that scale, because we have 10v10 and it's huge, but there's still that scope for individual moments of absolute heroism. So, for example, you can see our base is doing pretty bad, but we've got Crowned Rat, and he's there to defend us, and that volley of arrows just won us the game. Because despite all of this 10v10, all of the massive scale, there's still that room for one person to change the course of the battle. And now everyone's going to say, I believe in you, well done, you're the best. He'll probably pay the price for it, because that's a Germanicus infantry charge about to come in on him, but he won the game for his team.
He gets his congratulations.
He does. And here it comes. But luckily he won it in time.
He won it before wipeout. So there's the victory. So the results screen, a number of ways of looking at all the scores. You get your silver and you get your XP from your commander, and then each unit earns unit XP2 based on the success or otherwise. In the you see a leaderboard of your kills and deaths, and Helen controlled it very well, other people less so. And here you can see where you get your XP from, because it's not just about killing, although obviously that's a fairly important part. But you get XP from spotting,
from the
capture points, and a lot of the team play. So you get rewarded for different roles, and that's
we have that
important.
premium. We notice when you do something cool in battle, and we're constantly rolling out new achievements to put into the game. But we want to see that you just did something really cool. You should be rewarded for that, and that's what achievements are. And as we play internally and we watch more people play, we say they just did something cool. We should implement a way to reward them for that one.
So there we go, that is the depth of gameplay, the front end and the actual battle, and we're pleased to say that we'll be going to closed beta beginning end of next week, so in a week's time that will be a full 24/7 period. There will be some open weekends in that where we're going to invite the suitable moments like open to everyone, but we'll be looking to run the game for longer periods, get feedback out, see how the progression works, see test our services scale and so on. And we're very excited to be moving into that phase.
So, das war ein kurzer Rundown von den Jungs von Creative Assembly zu Total War Arena und wie es sich als verhalten wird. Ihr habt es wahrscheinlich gehört, sie sprechen davon, dass es nicht Pay-to-Win ist, was sehr, sehr gut ist, denn da hatten ja viele Leute natürlich Angst davor. Ich sag nur Goldmunition und bestimmte Munitionsarten bei zum Beispiel World of Tanks. Ich bin mir eigentlich nicht ganz sicher, ob diese Premium-Units, die dann dafür sorgen, dass ich, obwohl ich eigentlich diese Units gar nicht benutzen kann, dann diese Premium-Units benutzen kann, um bestimmte Lücken zu füllen in meiner Verteidigung oder in meinem Angriff. Ob das nicht das Balancing ein bisschen killen wird, das werden wir aber sehen. Denn bald, wie gesagt, am 1. September beginnt die Closed Beta und dann kann man sich das angucken. Wir werden das alles erstmal testen müssen und zwar wirklich, wirklich in der Tiefe. Ich hoffe, euch hat dieses kurze Video von der Gamescom gefallen. Hinterlasst gerne ein Like, einen Kommentar und ein Abo. Und wir sehen uns ja spätestens zu Total War Arena wieder, wenn die Closed Beta beginnt. Da werde ich mit einigen anderen YouTubern zusammen kooperativ spielen und das streamen bzw. als Video machen. Bis dann, ciao!